Alin had always lived behind a shield. Not a physical one, but the kind built from silence, trauma, and a deep fear of letting anyone too close. At school, she kept her headphones on and her guard even higher. Music was her only comfort, the only voice she trusted, the voice within that told her to keep moving. Keep breathing, even when life felt too heavy. Jane was the complete opposite, warm, loud, and unapologetically herself. She was the kind of person who could light up a room just by walking in. People naturally gravitated to her. She laughed easily, cared deeply, and always noticed the things others missed. Like how Alin always sat alone by the window. Or how her eyes looked so tired, even when she managed a small smile. Their worlds were miles apart, but destiny has a funny habit of closing every distance. It all started when Jane forgot her locker keys and, in a moment of panic, ended up asking Alin for help. Alin barely replied, just giving a silent nod. But something in Jane's genuine, grateful smile made the quiet girl's heart skip a beat. For the first time in a very long time, Alin didn't feel invisible. Soon after, Jane began sitting beside her at lunch. She did it slowly, without any pressure, as if she was simply offering Alin a safe place to land. She shared her snacks, told silly stories about her day, and gave Alin 1,000 little reasons to smile. Alin still spoke softly, her voice barely a whisper at first, but she began to speak. And every single time she did, Jane listened as if her words were priceless treasures. One afternoon, Jane discovered something completely unexpected. Alin could sing. It happened by accident in the empty music room. Alin was humming softly to herself, lost in the melody, not knowing Jane was there. She froze the moment she realized she wasn't alone, fear rushing in like a tidal wave. She braced herself for judgment, for laughter. But instead, Jane's eyes were shining with pure admiration. "Your voice," she whispered, her own voice full of wonder. "It's beautiful." "You're beautiful." Alin didn't know how to respond. Compliments were foreign in her world, like seeing the sun after an endless storm. Her first instinct was to run, to hide. She tried to walk away, but Jane gently took her hand. That small, simple touch felt like a promise Alin wasn't sure she deserved, but one her heart desperately wanted to believe. As the days turned into weeks, they grew closer. Jane helped Alin face the noises in her head, the echoes of her past. In turn, Alin helped Jane slow down, to breathe, and to find a quiet stillness in her own busy life. They were healing each other in ways neither of them had ever expected. But love, especially a love between two girls, wasn't always welcomed with open arms. Jane's friends started teasing her, questioning why she'd choose to spend her time with the quiet, strange girl. Alin heard the whispers behind her back in the hallways. She saw the disapproving glances, as if their happiness was some kind of crime. The fear began to creep back in. Afraid she would ruin Jane's bright, happy life, Alin started to pull away. She stopped replying to messages. She avoided their usual spots. Her headphones came back on, the volume turned up louder than ever, trying to drown out the sound of her own breaking heart. But Jane wasn't going to give up that easily. She found Alin again in the music room, sitting all alone in the dark. The moment their eyes met, the wall that Alin had so carefully rebuilt began to crumble. Jane walked toward her slowly. With the same gentleness she'd shown from the very beginning, patient, kind, and so full of love. "Why are you shutting me out?" Jane asked, her voice trembling just slightly. "You deserve someone who makes your life easier." "Not harder," Alin whispered, tears she couldn't hold back, hiding beneath her lowered lashes. Jane reached out and cupped Alin's face in her hands, forcing her to look up. "You are not a burden," she said, her voice firm with conviction. "You are my safe place." The raw honesty in those words broke Alin open. All the fear, all the doubt, just washed away. She stepped forward, letting Jane's warmth replace her cold fears. Jane gently brushed away a tear, her thumb lingering on Alin's soft skin. Their breaths mingled in the quiet room. Their hearts were speaking a language that needed no sound. And then, softly and tenderly, Jane kissed her. For Alin, it felt like taking her very first breath. It was like every love song she'd ever listened to was written just for this one perfect moment. She clutched Jane's hoodie, terrified that it was all just a dream she would wake up from. Jane smiled against her lips, whispering, "I'm right here. Always." Their love didn't magically erase the world's harshness or silence the whispers. But it gave them a sanctuary, a fortress to fight from. They had created their own safe zone, built on trust and acceptance. Alin finally learned that vulnerability wasn't a weakness, it was the ultimate form of courage. And Jane learned that true love didn't need anyone else's approval to be real. They were just two girls, with two hearts, guided by one voice within that was now singing louder and prouder than fear. Their love may have begun in quiet whispers, but its echo would last forever. Thank you so much for watching. If this story touched your heart, please like, share, and subscribe for more content. We'll see you in the next one.